Ever catch yourself kind of daydreaming about a decision? Like, convinced it'll bring you, ultimate happiness, then, well, turns out it wasn't what you imagined.
Yeah.
Today, we're diving into that, why that happens. We've got Stumbling on Happiness by Daniel Gilbert.
Oh, that's a good one. It's really common, you know, that experience. We all want to be happy, obviously.
Nice.
But, and Gilbert actually won, like, the Royal Society Science Book Prize for this. Our brains, they're not always so good at accurately predicting our happiness.
Yeah, it's funny because the book, it starts off with this, like, paradox of choice. And I've totally been there. It's like, more options.
Yeah.
Well, more chances to be happy, right?
Right.
But it's not that simple.
Not at all. That's exactly what he argues. We think choices, it equals control.
Yeah.
And that means happiness. But a lot of studies, they're showing that too many choices, we end up paralyzed.
It's true.
Full of regret, even.
Like scrolling through movies, just endless options. And then I'm overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And then I end up, like, putting on Friends again for the 100th time.
It's true. Happens all the time.
Or even, like, paint swatches.
Oh,
yeah. From my living room,
yeah.
I agonize over these colors. And then what do? I just go back to plain white. Every time.
You're not alone. It's like Gilbert, he argues that these endless options, they backfire big time. We compare, we second guess, we end up feeling less satisfied. And it's crazy because they could be good choices.
Right. That's the thing. So okay. If endless options, they're a trap.
Yeah.
Then how do we get better? How do we predict what will actually make us happy? Gilbert, he talks about the brain.
The prefrontal cortex.
Yeah. Like, get this right. The prefrontal cortex, it acts like our own personal fortune teller.
Okay.
But instead of, like, the future,
yeah,
it's about how our choices will make us feel.
Okay.
So we're trying to predict our happiness, but if our brains are trying to do that, why are we so bad at it? It's like, my inner fortune teller needs a new crystal ball.
Well, even fortune tellers,
right? They
have their limits.
Sure.
Gilbert, he talks about these blind spots.
Okay.
Our imaginations, they get clouded by how we feel right now in this moment.
So, like, if I'm trying to, okay, give me an example.
Okay, imagine trying to predict how you'd feel after a breakup. If you're happy now,
yeah,
you might not realize how much it could hurt. But if you're already heartbroken,
you're going to think it's forever.
Exactly. Endless misery.
That makes sense, though. Because, like, if you're already stressed,
oh, yeah,
then that vacation,
right?
Oh, it's going to be amazing. And escape. But
yeah,
are you really thinking about those flight delays?
Right.
The sunburn?
Exactly. The arguments with whoever you're with.
Yeah.
Our imaginations, they skip the bad parts.
They do. And then on top of that, my brain hates not knowing.
Right.
So it's just filling in the blanks with, like, whatever it wants.
Yes. And it makes it up. Like, I don't have all the facts.
Right.
But I'm going to tell a good story anyway.
Oh, this filling in phenomenon, it's sneaky.
It really is.
So, okay, for example, let's say I've always wanted to live in, I don't know, New York City.
Yeah. Okay.
In my head, it's all.
Sidewalk cafes.
Yes. And, like, cool music.
The energy.
But I'm probably forgetting about the crowds.
Yeah.
And what else? The rent?
Sky-high rent.
Yeah.
So our brains are good storytellers, not so good at predicting the future, though.
Okay, so if our imaginations are flawed like this,
yeah,
what are we supposed to do? Just, like, give up? Just accept we're going to stumble through life blindly?
Not necessarily. Gilbert, he has this idea. It's called surrogation. Instead of relying on just our imagination, we use the wisdom of others, people who've already done the thing we're thinking about.
So, like, instead of me, romanticizing about New York City,
right?
I should talk to my friend who actually lives there.
Exactly. It's real-world data. People who've been there, done that. Not our made-up ideas.
That's so interesting. It's kind of like when we need a recommendation.
Oh.
We ask a friend.
Yeah.
Not
Yelp.
Yes. Not Yelp. Because we trust them more.
100%. They've lived it. It's knowing the difference. Imagination versus, like, real data.
Right.
One's great for, dreaming.
Sure.
But the other, that's real life.
This is already making me rethink some stuff.
Yeah.
But there's so much more here we haven't even touched on. Like, our memories.
Oh, yeah, that's a whole other thing. They can be just as bad as our imaginations.
And how variety plays a role.
Right. We got to talk about that. But you know what? Let's take a quick break, and then we'll get into all of that and more.
Awesome. So before the break, you mentioned variety. Variety and happiness.
Oh, yeah.
I'm curious. How does that fit in with this whole, like, stumbling on happiness thing?
Yeah. Okay. Think about this. Remember that amazing restaurant you went to at once? And it's like you still talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
The best meal ever.
The best.
But imagine, like, eating there every single day.
Okay, yeah, I get it. It'd get less special.
Okay.
You know? Maybe even. Maybe.
Exactly. It wouldn't be as good. Gilbert, he uses, like, a food analogy.
Right.
It's like you enjoy it more when it's a treat, not, like, every day.
Right.
Same with experiences. Variety keeps things exciting, and it stops us from, like, getting used to the good stuff too fast.
Makes sense. It's like travel, maybe.
Yeah.
The planning, getting ready.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's almost as fun as the actual trip.
Totally. And then you come home and
It fades, the excitement.
Yep. Our brains, they adjust to the new normal. Like, even if that's, I don't know, a fancy vacation or a new car.
Yeah.
It's funny, right? And this ties into the whole, like, illusion of permanence.
Okay.
That's another thing Gilbert talks about. We think our emotions, they'll last longer than they do.
So, like, if I won the lottery...
You'd be happy forever.
Yeah. Or, like, if I lost my job...
Misery.
Right.
Not really.
Oh.
Those big feelings,
Mm.
the good and the bad, they even out over time.
Mm.
Our internal, what Gilbert calls psychological immune system.
Okay, wait, hold on. Psychological immune system, that's that. What's it?
So it's like our brain, it's trying to protect us from being sad forever. It helps us bounce back.
So even when,
Yeah.
even when bad stuff happens, heartbreaks, disappointments,
Yeah.
our brain is like, okay, let's deal with this.
Exactly. It's finding meaning, reframing things, and sometimes even like finding something good in the bad stuff.
So the more we get this whole process,
Yeah.
the less we freak out about the bad stuff.
Right, because it's not just emotions controlling us.
That is
Mhm.
actually really reassuring. It's like, I don't know, I've had those moments, right, where I'm dreading something, and then it's not as bad as I thought.
100%. Our psychological immune system, it's stronger than we think.
Okay, that's good to know.
Ow.
But memories, we were talking about memories.
Oh, yeah. So, just like our imaginations,
They can be messed up.
memories, they're not perfect recordings. Think of them more like stories that we change
We change our own memories.
all the time based on how we feel now, what we believe, even just the stories we tell.
So it's like, I could be remembering, I don't know, a vacation,
Right.
all happy,
Right.
sunsets, good food.
The best. But what about the sunburn?
Oh,
Here, right.
the flight delays. We forget those parts.
We do. Okay. Wow. So our memories, they aren't accurate. And our imaginations are all
A little dramatic.
So then how? How are we supposed to make any decisions?
That's the question, right? It's like, we need to be more aware,
Okay.
question what we think. And remember, Gilbert, he talks about...
Surrogation.
Right, yes, it's huge. Talk to others, hear their stories. Then we get a better picture of what to expect.
So it's like we're getting more information beyond our own, like, limited experiences.
Exactly, but, and this is important, how do we know who to trust? Everyone's got their own, you know.
Bias. Right. Their own interpretations,
Yeah.
even if they've, lived it.
So we're basically saying, don't always trust what your brain is telling you.
Well, in a way, yeah. It's more like recognize when it's trying to pull a fast one.
Yeah.
Like those times when we're, getting carried away with the good or the bad or just totally misremembering something.
Yeah, but how do we even know when we're doing that?
That's the thing about awareness, right? It's like once we see it,
Then we can actually do something about it.
exactly. It's about making smarter choices, ones that will hopefully lead to more happiness.
So instead of like chasing this perfect dream of
That-
happiness,
When our brain made up.
yeah, maybe it's about being okay with the mess. Life's messy.
I like that. Embrace the mess. Gilbert, he says it in the book, Stumbling on Happiness. Happiness, it isn't this thing we find.
Right, it's not a destination.
It's all the stuff in between.
Look at those stumbles when I totally thought things would go one way,
Yeah.
and they didn't. Maybe those are good too.
That's the idea. We grow from those, learn, and yeah, maybe even find some unexpected happiness along the way.
This has been seriously so eye-opening. I'm thinking about like all my decisions, big and small.
It makes you look at things differently, right?
Totally. And even just happiness in general,
Yeah.
how I define it.
That's great to hear. And this is just scratching the surface.
Lily, there's more.
Gilbert's book, it's full of stuff, research, stories. We could talk for hours about all of it.
Well, I'm definitely going to be thinking about all this for a while. And to everyone listening, if you want to really dive in, Stumbling on Happiness is, well, it's a good read. You might be surprised.